Okay.
Boom.
Hello and welcome to the Mario Not-Fall Crypto Daily. We got an incredible panel lined up today, and it's actually somewhat going to be focused on something I think anybody in crypto, I don't care about your political affiliation, but when you look at the landscape of what's coming on January 20th, the platform for an absolute trampoline rocket ship launching this freaking ecosystem into space. We've been building into this for the last, I feel like, 47 decades, but it's only, I mean, the space moves so fast, but we got Magaverse here with us. We got Player Taco One. We got Chonky. We got Druth. We're going to be talking about the crypto ecosystem, what's going on, and what January 20th might mean, what we can expect. So with that being said, my name's Kelly Kell. I'm the host today here on the Mario Not-Fall Spaces. We got Druth here as my illustrious and enigmatic co-host. How you feeling, brother?
Dude, I'm so happy to see these markets churning so much green today, waking up to, I mean, you know, AI 16Z up 27% on the day. Huge resurgence, this beautiful V-shaped recovery. It got us away from that scary $80,000 level. It came in the blink of an eye, and already we're back to $97,000. It's been breakneck price action. I'm holding on, building more crypto into my portfolio, leaning into the danger. I think 2025 is going to be life-changing. I'm super excited, man.
Well, you know, one of the things that is on the docket, and there's about 47 maybes. We have to realize these are maybes. Everybody thought Gary Gensler was going to be good for crypto because he used to teach, blockchain stuff at MIT. And then he came in and just was complete. And I apologize for the language. He was just a complete, not even a gold plated polished turd. He was just an absolute piece of shit in the space for what it would mean for crypto. We're getting real here with you all today. And that being said, we have a crypto administration, the crypto focused administration coming into office. It's already elected. We're waiting on some more of the confirmations for some of those people in the cabinet, but the excitement, the speculation, all this is so positive. And one of those things on the docket is potentially even things like XRP, Cardano, HBAR, and I think Algorand, all potentially also moving into a non-taxable crypto. So there's a lot of things that's on the docket. So let's go around the room. We got Chonky here. How you doing? How you feeling?
Dude, I'm feeling spectacular. I'm doing spectacular. It was nice waking up to some green markets and seeing some things pumping here and there. The vibes are good. Washington won the first playoff game in 19, 20 years. So I've been raging over that since Sunday night. And feeling pretty good, man. Feeling pretty good. Sold a little Solana this morning. Not a ton, but enough, waiting for the 20th.
I hear that. How you doing? We got the talk. It's Tuesday, so it's Taco Tuesday, baby.
Man, it is an amazing day. I have a really cool partnership with MEXC, and they let me start a new campaign with my community, and so I'm putting in 300x longs on Bitcoin. I sold a little bit of Solana today because I've been getting really deep diving into some Degen stuff on Vector. That's been really fun. Been seeing the SocialFi side of things a little bit. Been playing around on the 3VO app. My heart goes out to them because they've only deployed to Android first rather than Apple. Oof. I hate apps that deploy to Apple first and then they never go to Android. So that was a win for me with 3VO. But it's just been a fun time on all of these different AI tokens and things. We're seeing all the different Trump tokens take off as well. I wish my old ETH Trump, man, I bought that following a friend, BitBoy J. I bought in at the same amount as him. I sold when I had 100x. He sold he took profits when he had 10,000x. So
hold on, I got a lump in my throat with that. Yo, can you feel a little off for this sucker over here? Shit.
Nah, man. Hey, you got to support your friends' wins, and all these airdrops that are happening. We had Pengu, we had me. We're about to see Abstract go live. Sonium just went live yesterday. I've been getting in on the Sonium action. That's the new blockchain from Sony. who would think Sony would put out a chain? But and that's a help to the entire Polkadot ecosystem. So you brought up Cardano, I'll bring up Polkadot and Moon.
Bring it back to 55 and I'll be happy.
Yeah. So on that note, I also want to introduce our last person here, who is ushering in a dawn of new leadership, a united vision for the future. That is Magaverse. How you doing? How you feeling?
What's going on, guys? Thank you guys so much for actually allowing the Magaverse community to be up here. I myself, my name is Crypto. I am one of the community leaders there in the Magaverse community. I mean, it's the dawn of new time is about to begin, right? It's already been happening. It happened 4 years prior in the previous term of Trump's legacy, and now that legacy has even it became even more superior than the previous one, right? It's transformed into what we call now the dawn of the Magaverse, right? And now the Magaverse is the superheroes that collided together to literally become a unified front on all levels to circumvent the whole entire system that we actually see today, whether it's within the states or it's within the globalization aspect, right? Because everything that happens in the U.S., as you guys know, it's impacted globally. Everybody looks to the U.S. as a leader and a thought leader of creativity, technology advancements, how we politically engage globally, from all types of innovations that also comes by and that basically transcend into the whole global hemisphere. And then on top of that, the healthcare aspect, right? We all have all the individuals that basically are pioneers in their respective realms, whether it's from business standpoint, healthcare, as I mentioned, or whether they're talking in regards to governance. All of them are covered by Dana White, JD Vance, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, along with Robert Kennedy Jr., and of course, our favorite Donald J. Trump.
Well, you know what? On that note, I think it's important because when we think about crypto or you think about any industry ever, but we're obviously all more focused on crypto. We're in a very bizarre sort of la land right now, I think, because technology has advanced so fast. I don't think the powers that have been, and I won't say the powers that be because shit's changing. The powers that have been cannot contend, they cannot grasp that they do not have the same level of psychological control that they have for the last millennia because of the speed and rate at which technology has given everybody a voice. And now with the current the administration elect that's coming into office, not only do you have Donald Trump, and again, anybody out there, whether you like Trump or not, you have to realize this, especially if you're participating in crypto. Donald J. Trump going into office with a crypto-focused, crypto-friendly sort of motif, direction, what he's proclaimed his intentions are, and his tight circle is comprised of people like Elon Musk, who controls now the largest voice in the world access point, which is Twitter, the number one news source in, every top country in the top 150 or something like that. You have people like Joe Rogan, who endorsed President Trump, and he doesn't normally endorse presidents. He endorsed, and he's got the largest sort of audience base as a podcaster, I think, in the world. Then you have people like Vivek Ramaswamy, who's incredibly articulate, has got a great following. Then you have Robert F. Kennedy. You've got, the amount of power behind the community and cultural access that administration has is going to have a profound impact on this crypto market. And I think some people are expecting inauguration, moonshot right after. Let's throw it back over to you, Druth. Is this positive speculation something that we need to be a little bit worried of because there's such positivity about what could happen? Maybe a washout's in store right after, or do you think it's going to start moving up pretty quickly right after this inauguration? You're muted.
I'm not worried at all. There we go. I had to mute myself. I don't know. We're getting some background noise, but essentially, I'm not worried at all, dude. Like what we saw with when Trump MAGA token came out all the way back when, a lot of people were worried that it was just this fly by the night, quick narrative that was going to die in the dark. And now we have like thousands of politically connected tokens, right? And how I approach them when they first came out is like people are speaking their minds through holding these meme coins and through basically, starting these kind of small economies. Because at the time we had Gary Gensler still well within power. We had a lot of kind of constraints to the crypto industry. How far things have come from that time frame. Now Gary Gensler's planning to resign. We have Paul Atkins, who's a board member of Securitize, which is heavily tied into the RWA sector, slated to come and take control of Gary Gensler's seat, and a crypto czar, David Sachs. And I think David Sachs is going to pump Solana. Just the idea of David Sachs taking that position, I think is going to be very, very healthy for Solana. And even if we didn't have this administration coming in, if it was the alternative option that was up for election in the United States, I still wouldn't have too much of a concern. I think Bitcoin's bull market's going to continue as usual. We're going to have these washouts before we accomplish our all-time highs. And I think that the 4-year cycle is going to continue at large and really look at large pretty similar to the last markets that we have, just maybe a little bit lower. Maybe we top out at around 200K and then come back down. That's what's on my mind is the Bitcoin reserve going to actually be a tangible thing in 2025 for America? That's the biggest question that I have in my mind.
Well, I mean, those are all great points, and we've talked about this a lot at length on your show, Blockchain Basement, my show, BitLab, and then also on many of the panels you and I have done here on the Mario Nawfal Crypto Daily panel. Shout out to Mario Nawfal giving this platform for these incredible conversations with some of the best minds in the space. And I'm not saying my mind, I'm talking about these people like Player One Taco, and Chonky and Crypto from Magaverse, and so many other people we talked to on here. But I want to throw it back over to Chonky, because on this note of the inauguration, it was identified yesterday, there's going to be some executive orders that are likely going to come in the first day or first days, similar to was it SB 121, whatever, the limiting of, hey, we're not limiting. There's no operation choke point. Really? How come banks can't hold this asset without calling it a liability? There's no other word. So what do you make of this, the rumors and some of the confirmations about these executive orders coming in?
Dude, who knows what Trump's going to do? And that's part of the excitement. And like, just hear me out here and forgive me if this is a little degen and a little off topic. But if we're talking about serious gains that you don't have to use leverage for, because I'm no taco, I get wrecked every time I try, right? If we're talking about serious gains, all you got to do is watch what's happening right now with everything around Trump, everything he's doing, and see what pops off, and see like the external revenue service that he announced on Truth like 2 hours ago. I haven't had a chance to, but I want to look around and see what kind of tokens are popping off from that. Whatever he does has potential to absolutely spew 100,000x. It's going to be in and out, obviously. I'm not going to put like my life savings into any of these like micro cap shitters that are based around whatever Trump's doing. But no, that's more so what I'm paying attention to, man. Mostly because it's fun, but also because here and there you can catch a massive, massive win. And it's going to be fun to see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like I want to say every day, but it's probably about once every 3 days, he says something or does something that creates a whole new little meme narrative that creates a whole new sub economy on this thing. It makes me wonder also with Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler's leaving. Everybody, let's give a round of applause for Gary Gensler getting the hell out of here. I mean, golly. And hey, claps finally to the U.S. court system for saying, hey, SEC, what the hell are you doing? I mean, this is what's needed been said for the last 4 years. So does this mean Gary Gensler is Gary Gensler, that meme token, is that going to pump one last time? I don't know, but I want to throw it back to Player One Taco. Everybody's wondering the SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Where would you put the likelihood that the U.S. actually buys in 2025? Or do you think it's more likely that maybe the executive order is more somewhere along the lines of, or some sort of executive order or legislation is, hey, we're just announcing that we're not going to sell current holdings and we'll start buying next year? And if that happens, is that a drop in the market, or is that still positive because we are establishing the SBR?
So I think there's two pieces to that we have to think of. We always sort of we talk about the current reserve, and is Bitcoin meant to be an asset of holding, or was it originally designed to be a tradable asset? And so, one, do we really want governments or the US government making a strategic reserve? Because how are they going to buy it? What money are they going to use to buy it with if they're already in debt? That means they're going to go print some more money and buy the Bitcoin that we buy with our dollars and stuff like that, real dollars. They're going to just go print some dollars to buy it with. Now, are they going to do that? I hope so. I think they're going to, because what it does make is the Bitcoin that we've all bought worth more. And so, I was talking about this the other night, the idea of, if all the nation states start making Bitcoin reserves, I think at last count there was 27, maybe the number's up higher now, nations that were either already creating a Bitcoin reserve, having legislation come up in some way, shape, or form for a Bitcoin reserve, or at least starting that discussion. But those, I think the 27 are ones that have actionable legislation up to vote and discuss on. So I think it's a good thing. Like you said, maybe just not selling what they have left, because they confiscate a lot of it from different actions. But I would also like, where they confiscate it is usually from illegal actions. I would love to see it getting returned to those that it's stolen from.
Well, I definitely agree there. I would give a little pushback though on the idea that it's going to be money printing, because as Michael Saylor has pointed out, whatever country, I mean, that would be the leap of leaps. Hey, we're printing and we're buying billions and billions. Because if you look right now with the huge amounts, and it's huge, it really is huge amounts of capital that's coming into the market from larger wealth players, especially on the advent of the launch of the Bitcoin spot ETFs, but also corporations, over 1,000 corporations, institutions of some sort, were stacking into pretty substantial amounts of the Bitcoin spot ETF in the first quarter of last year, let alone what we saw progress over the rest of the year. And also we're seeing huge amounts of flows. We're over 50 billion in the IBIT. We're over, tens of billions in Fidelity, and it's so on and so forth. I don't think, obviously, that any of those wealth players are printing money to get that. I think the same thing is going to be happening to nation states and sovereign bodies out there, and I think this would be more bullish than people recognize. If a national player, an international player, takes an allocation of capital from selling gold to get Bitcoin, there's such a subtext there. Even if it's 5% of their gold holdings, 3%, 30%, whatever it is, that narrative, that story in and of itself isn't just, hey, they're buying. Hey, they're reallocating gold for Bitcoin or some other assets that are
even
out there.
Even if it's like 0.25% or
Right.
0.1%, it doesn't matter. That is, like you say, is such a strong signal. And hopefully any of that happens. The other option that no one's really talked about is any government, not only making a reserve of Bitcoin, but if they start to inflow into these funds and stuff like that, like the Bitcoin ETF or the Ethereum ETF or any other ETF that comes up, if they flow into those, because we see the government flow into mutual funds and other TradFi, Web2 traditional instruments, they do that all the time. That might be the easier play, and that also is a good signal. That's like the green light or the yellow light right before the start of a race,
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to throw it over to Magaverse here, because, obviously we're going to be, for everybody that's tuned in right now, we're going to be doing a little bit of a deeper dive AMA section at the last 15 to 20 minutes. But from your point, Magaverse, this is the cycle. This right now is the cycle of all cycles, because this is the platform for the next 30 to 100 years. This market's finally getting the political sort of acceptance. We have the BlackRock spot ETF, Fidelity. We see the new is it Treasury Secretary had to acknowledge he had between $250,000 and $500,000 worth of allocation towards the IBIT BlackRock Bitcoin spot ETF. You see other senators, state senators out there, also the vice president-elect who has Avalanche and other tokens. You see other senators talking about different meme coins. There's a bizarre flippening that's happened in the last 18 months that this is now not only in the dark corners of the super crypto tech people. This is, you could talk about it, and there's a legitimacy to this. So what do we make of the political sort of side of the ecosystem, from whatever World Liberty Capital is purchasing, also to the meme coin side, where there's all these sub sort of economies that are building around this? How does somebody make sense of this, and where to allocate to ride the dragon to the top?
I mean, I think before even I explain that, I think this kind of ties into everything, right? Like people are looking for generational wealth. Like that is something that everyone has been sold on since the start of this whole crypto, wave, so to speak, right? Everyone knows that first it was people not expecting that it was actually going to be this real thing. People thought it was just a fad, it was just going to go away. Then they slowly transitioned into people started to hold on to assets. The smart individual, smart money, that actually caught on in the early waves of Bitcoin, into Ethereum ICOs, and then start to kind of go through these phases of the the metaverse, the NFTs, and so on and so forth. And now people are starting to understand, like, okay, like right now is the time where I can actually make that generational wealth, right? But how can I attain that wealth? And guess what? Meme coins became one of those placeholders where people were like, you know what? I can actually do that. More than likely for me to actually hit on a big run on meme coins than to do any sort of traditional assets, for instance, right? Even if you invested into something that actually gave you a 3%, 5% return, 11% return on something that is in the traditional world, you're not going to get that anywhere else, but you're going to get thousands of percentages in gains inside the crypto realm. So the biggest issue for anybody that was actually going into the crypto market at that time was that they were hesitant because they were worried about all the different rules and regulations that went around that. There was no regulation clarity. There was none of that stuff, which basically prevented people from going into anything. Meme coins was one of those only placeholders where everyone was like, you know what, this is something I can actually stick behind, right? And then when you caught this whole entire narrative of like MAGA, which now we call it MAGA-verse, right? You start to see all that clarity, all the regulations, having a president for the first time acknowledging, something in that narrative, right? And seeing so many MAGA tokens already come out, and you're talking about subcategories, the only thing that's going to actually even, exist at that moment in time are going to be ones where our movements, culture-fi, which I like to also call Trump-fi in this specific, case, you're going to see that. And guess what? At the end of the day, the common goal is one between all of us. Is literally being one of the main narratives and being a follower to a true movement, which is the betterment of society as a whole. And this is what our MAGA-verse narrative is actually doing, and you're going to see that in many subcategories. I mean, there's going to be others that are going to pop off and everything, but what is going to outlast anything is going to be a solid team with a serious narrative, with a real PR push that's going to actually create the branding that is required to ensure the longevity of that specific token.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll throw it back to Drew. You've always got, you're always peeking into the deep dark corners of the various meme stuff, the MAGA-verse, the MAGA coins, even Biden tell you, like, so how are you feeling about the development, the evolution, the growth of this? Is it becoming a little too watered down, or is it still somewhat easy to find the narratives there that can make you some money?
I mean, to a degree, you'll have a lot of projects that will start and they'll stop, like Crypto was saying, they stop advertising. They don't have the right teams to keep in the limelight. And sometimes they fail because they launch at the wrong times. Like what we saw, what MAGA token did, it launched right when Trump was like, yeah, I'm running again. Right. And everyone's like, oh my God, he's coming back for another guy. It was all about timing. And then they're writing on the idea that the media cannot stop talking about Trump, good or bad. The media is addicted talking about Trump because it brings in views. So when the attention game is largely what it takes in the meme coin sector, especially, then being positioned around conversations that can't stop being had on a larger scale with the average person is a very, very powerful thing to have as a project. As long as you keep the limelight and it is ran operationally correctly, then you should have something that's at least sustainable through the presidency. And honestly, we're 6 days away from the inauguration. Like, there's a lot of the projects that have been holding the line, even if they had been dumped on. They've created these CTO communities that are diamond handing these, there's Pepe Trump derivatives that are probably going to pump. There's all kinds of these random projects that have CTO'd and are going to, pop off. It's about if they can sustain the pump and if they can keep the marketing going, man. There's a lot of room to it. And on the Trump kind of portfolio, how we play it, I wanted to kind of highlight that on the World Liberty Fi's bags. We saw the moment that World Liberty Fi was known to be buying Chainlink and to be buying Aave. Chainlink and Aave both accomplished breakneck breakouts, and they have not fallen down below those breakout points. Chainlink is still hanging around $20. Aave went up to, dang near $400. It's still held that line at $300. And then we also have ENA. And these are all RWA based tokens, but also a little bit of access to staking because Trump is buying wrapped Bitcoin, the CBBTC Bitcoin product. It makes me wonder if World Liberty Fi is the training module for a potential government level DeFi summer. I mean, we think DeFi summer, what we thought was amazing because retail's coming in and earning yield. Imagine if the Treasury 5 years from now has figured out DeFi to the point where they're sitting there earning yield off of these DeFi applications. This is where we are looking at a toenail compared to an elephant in terms of the size of our market cap in comparison to the existing money and what these systems might actually look like 5 to 10 years from now. We could likely be seeing the testing ground for a government-driven DeFi decade. And that, I don't even know where the top of it is. I don't know how much money would end up coming into that market, but we do know that fiat currency is dying and they need to change things to keep its existence moving.
Well, you made some great points there. I saw a news story today, and it's funny, on the back of this executive order announcement around repealing or canceling. Sorry, I just got a notification on Coinbase that says your funds are safe, but the service is down. Then it flashed away. It always gives you a heart attack. You're like, but no, repealing that banking prohibition from them being able to hold Bitcoin without calling, or digital assets without it, listed as a liability. And this morning I saw the largest bank in Italy, I believe it's the largest bank in Italy, bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin. So this sort of makes me wonder, is the finance sector gonna look anything like it does in 3 years? I'll throw it over to Chunky on this. Is this going to be a slow burn, or are all these institutions? I mean, I can't imagine that they have blockchain desks. They have people that are looking into this. You cannot ignore the fact that this is exponentially more efficient and more transparent. They probably don't want the transparency, but the cost of the efficiency would save them hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars annually. So I can't imagine they're not going to try at least take their piece of the pie in that. So on the repeal of this, are we going to see something in Q1 where banks, like we see this flood of Wells Fargo bought 5 million or 100 million, or JP Morgan, or is this going to be repealed and it might take 1 to 3, 4 years before we start seeing banks take active steps to to hold or custody or some aspect more aggressively within the crypto ecosystem?
Man, I don't know. I'm not buying into the fact that all of these banks that people like, not associated with the financial sector, but Mark Zuckerberg has all of a sudden changed his seat entirely on free speech and censorship. I am not buying into the fact that all of these people are doing it purely for adoption and like real time, real world solutions that blockchain technology can solve. Not buying into that for a second. We also need to remember that a lot of these changes are coming with the Trump administration. What happens in 4 years when maybe there's not a Republican candidate voted into office, or maybe whenever that happens, because it's eventually going to happen. What happens when all these people start to turn their stance again? We also seem to forget, and you see this all the time in blockchain gaming versus Web 2 gaming, AAA titles and developers and whatnot. People seem to forget that those big developers, all of the giants in Web 2, anything, why would they willingly give up any of their market share to anyone in Web 3? Unless the demand for all things related to digital assets and blockchain adoption overtake all of the profits that they're seeing for what they're doing right now. Skins in Fortnite and Call of Duty is a prime example of that. Why would they ever give up all of those sales from the skins, for instance, to have tradable player-to-player tradable assets on a marketplace or a platform that are acting as NFTs? I don't know. And I'm getting a little off topic, so forgive me for rambling, but I don't buy into all of this adoption being in good faith and trust and belief in blockchain technology. Not buying into it for a second. Will we see some positive price action? Probably. Will we see big banks buying into Bitcoin or ETH or Solana? Probably. Should we trust that it's all for the right reasons and the reasons that we participate in this space?
Right.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree with that. Player one taco. I saw you pontificating there through that.
I did. I gotta, like, one piece, with all the banks and all the institutions coming into play, we got to remember they are paper handers. So they will take profits. They're people that 8% a year is golden. So if they get 8% in a day, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to sell, they're going to take profit, they're going to wait for another dip, and they'll buy back in at a lower price because algorithms will follow algorithms, and that's how it's all done. But also on the side of like the gaming studio side of things, where we're not going to force anyone to come onto blockchain or use DLT. But what we can do is we can incentivize it. So yes, everyone will have to buy their original skin. And as long as, Epic Games, they get their royalty for every single time I sell my suit or buy a gun, that will be perpetual income that they can look at. And so we have to look at the incentive structures to incentivize people to come use DLT, digital ledger technology, blockchain. And so it's not going to just be financial stuff. It's going to be data, and whatever that data represents, it's going to be all sorts of things that we can incentivize people. But I do want to shout out to one of the comments. This does seem like this is the hat show.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Did we plan this out? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Man.
I got to hide this receding hairline, gentlemen.
We're talking about something pretty important though, because you get people stuck in like, we're going to all be operating off of Web3 by 2026 because our bags went up this year, right? That's going to be a narrative that takes hold with retail, and they will round trip their bags all the way back down, 90% back down from the all-time highs. We see this, like, this is the same conversation like ICP trying to build something amazing, but they're trying to literally move the entire internet onto the blockchain. And when we think about the middleman conversation that Chunky brought up, it's very, very reasonable. We have to look at the existing system exists to capture middleman fees and retain control. So when we're looking for the best kind of long-term upside, me personally, this is why most of my portfolio is Chainlink. I am literally looking for a data aggregator, an oracle that can work with the existing system. And people may think that I'm crazy for seeing that, but honestly, Chainlink and these other, even Ripple's XRP. Once we saw Paul Atkins and this utility conversation coming true, all these dinosaur coins that honestly left us very disillusioned. Like, I've been holding XRP for a very long time, since 17 cents, completely missed out on the upside in the last bull market by holding that bag. And, seeing that we finally have a SEC chair that gets it, that has a board built of Ripple, securitizing its connections to Ondo and the tokenized securities, all of these things on the utility side make me, it's like a breath of fresh air, because utilities have been beaten down over multiple cycles. We see that it's got a use case. They're approaching it in a logical manner. No, we're not going to take over. You're not going to see the Bank of Solana this year. You're not going to see the you're not going to pay for bread in Solana outside of, transferring it through fiat. They're going to remain in control. You got to find systems that work with it.
Well, we just saw the big HelioPay, aka Solana Pay, get bought. And so we're seeing the Bank of Solana might not be too far off. Now I got to ask, as a straight degen, are you staking your chain? Were you able to stake your Chainlink?
No, I don't stake my Chainlink, and I don't. I just got burnt on Celsius staking, and I have a little bit of war torn. And people were making fun of me for not staking Polygon and locking it up for 2 years when it was at $1.40. And where are we at now, right? And you couldn't escape the ship as it was going down. So, I understand it's got its use case stake and yada, yada, yada. But I like to stay liquid, and I like to be able to move quickly if I see problems.
I love what Chainlink is doing. I've worked with the team a lot, and I try to go to every SmartCon I can, because you get to see like the frontline builders that are integrating Chainlink in every way, shape, or form. The announcement of Chainlink expansion, I was at, in front of the stage when that happened. And then I get to circle this back to Polkadot, Moonbeam being the GMP, the general message passer for all of Chainlink. That puts Moonbeam on in the back front center of everything. And so you look at like these dinosaur coins that are 5 years old, and we're calling them dino coins. I love that.
Yeah.
And they're
you talking about the legacy crypto from 5 years ago?
yeah,
Classic crypto.
Oh man,
it's in the crypto museum already.
Oh,
retired.
I still own Ethereum Classic. It's those are strong plays. Those are plays that at an institutional level drive interest, because they don't see those huge fluctuations, because they can't sell to the average guy. Oh yeah, you could see 1,000x if someone tweets out a picture of something today. But hey, you're going to see 13% this year guaranteed.
Well, I mean, there's a big question though right now in the market, and I think it is legitimate. On the one hand, I have a lot of faith. And this will be the last question we're going to have. Then we're going to dive in, everybody, to an AMA here with Magaverse. And we got some really cool things we're going to be peeking under the hood there. And I got some good questions that we're going to be diving in there. But before we get there, everybody, there's this element of faith right now in this market. That is, we look at historical trends and we say alt season should be happening around X, Y, and Z because of dominance, because of where we're at in the halving cycle, because all these things. However, on the flip side, if you do zoom out and look at some of the fundamental data metrics, we're at record levels of debt default and bankruptcies. There's no new capital. When you look at the global liquidity cycle, it suggests that we should be ticking up in liquidity, but liquidity is still coming out of global markets. I expect that hopefully to change soon. But now we're seeing economic data that kind of puts a pause on, inflation's not really under control. So are they going to print more money? Are they going to get rate cuts? There's all these weird, very weird conflicting narratives where on the one hand, just looking at historical trends, we should be getting alt season soon, if not already starting about now, maybe right at the inauguration or after. But, real quick, Druth, do you think, is there a universe that's more than 15% that we don't get an alt season like we have historically? Because Bitcoin obviously has all these new capital channels. I think that's going to do whatever. But Are altcoins broadly going to outpace in growth this last, 6 or 8 months? Or is there a universe where maybe it doesn't happen this time because of the dumb skull fuckery of what's happening with the global economy?
I mean, what you said is all accurate, but there's also more. There's a record number of millionaires
But wait,
now.
there's more.
Yeah, I mean, there's a record number of millionaires now with moving capital in the United States. They see inflation's coming back. They see Degens like Player Taco on his 6 screens and a gigantic, headset printing money. And they're like, wait a minute, I have a couple $1,000,000. There's this low cap, altcoin. And we also have the conversations of an AI implementation into the real world. And we have real world assets going to be conversated at a kind of a higher level in the United States government. I think that altcoin season is absolutely going down. And, honestly, the chart for Bitcoin dominance is rolling over. It's rolling over right on time. I wanted to look out for Bitcoin dominance to start really getting its butt kicked around Christmas Eve. And that has been happening. It's putting in this lower high right now. As of recently, it's basically setting its third lower high in right now. And I think that altcoin season is going down. The altcoins are much easier to move in terms of size of market cap. And now we have actual use case that can be conversated at a much higher level than I ever expected. If you would have asked me last cycle if I would expect someone that was connected to a tokenized treasury program or securitized to be leading the SEC, I'd be like, absolutely not. If you ask me if I ever thought that Cynthia Loomis out of Wyoming would be putting forth a Bitcoin Act and trying to even make the conversation happen right now, I'd be like, absolutely not. But here we are. And we even have the Department of Government Efficiency, aka Doge, coming in to gut half of the federal government workers. Like, this is a miracle setup. And, we see this short-term chop, 20% down or whatever. Everyone gets really run for the hills and they're all worried. But honestly, we're set up for an incredible market. The only thing that I see that the most bearish I can get is that Bitcoin tops out at around $150,000. Are altcoins still going to move in a ferocious way? My bullish, top end targets around $250,000 in Bitcoin. And I think AI projects, meme coins, and the RWA sector is going to absolutely blow people out of the water. So, no, I don't think that I'm not worried about it personally. And honestly, we are following all the metrics that you just said, Kelly. We are following the stagflationary pattern, interest rate wise and Federal Reserve wise, as we did from the 1970s to the 1980s. What this means is that I'm going to be able to buy houses cheap with cash in the next year and a half. And we'll see interest rates go up to 10 to 15% for the middle and lower class. Will be forever shut out of owning a home. This is why it's so important for me to focus in on making as much money as humanly possible over the next year and a half in crypto, and then slam into real estate, rinse and repeat the process. And by then we'll see America actually buying a Bitcoin for their reserve.
I can get behind that. And my altcoin portfolio is just jumping up and down with joy, because I agree with that. But you can't just have a bias. You got to ask different people's opinions. And I'm expecting rags to riches, baby. Let's go. We're here for it. Everybody that's out there that's tuned in, make sure you're following this Mario channel. Make sure you're following Druth. Make sure you're following at Player Taco 1, and also Chonky, which it's LOL noon. Oh no. Then of course we're going to be diving in now, as I promised at the beginning of the hour. Again, my name's Kelly Kellum. We're here on the Mario Nawfal Crypto Daily Roundtable Spaces. We're going to be diving in here with Magaverse, here with crypto from Magaverse. So I'm going to give you the floor here, and I'm going to kind of, Drew and I are both going to kind of pick apart, looking under that engine and seeing what's going on there. So could you tell us what Magaverse stands for? What is it? Give us the elevator pitch for anybody that's tuned in, and we'll start there. And your mic is muted.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Sorry, I was talking already. I was super hyped too. Man, took it away. But let me restart again all over. Guys, you have no idea what Magaverse is literally capable of, right? We talked about this in the very beginning of the space. Magaverse, first of all, stands for a very bold narrative. It's a community of cumulative individuals who are superheroes in today's day and age. They're the Avengers of today, with the whole narrative coming together with Elon Musk, Dana White, Robert Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump, and Vivek Ramaswamy, right? You have so many chads that are coming together, putting this whole entire, making the Trump initiatives and bringing it to life. Essentially, we're talking about executive orders. We're talking about doing things that are relevant to the cryptocurrency space. We're talking about everything that you can actually think of when it comes down to the government efficiencies, to healthcare, innovation, technology. We talked about all of those things at the very beginning, and that is what MAGAverse movement is. It is bigger than what it was before. Anytime that Elon talks, it is MAGAverse related. Anytime Robert Kennedy Jr. talks, it is MAGAverse related. Anytime any of these other chads that actually talk about their respective agendas within the MAGA narrative, it is a MAGAverse narrative. That's how bold and strong this narrative is.
I know that we have a lot of tokens that are sending tokens. Are you guys actually planning to donate to Trump himself? Like I heard that you might be donating like some amount to it.
My goodness, you are ahead of the ball game here. So so the dev actually wanted to he was trying to find somebody that can get him in touch with the Trump team to try to donate to the inaugural fund. That is something that is still ongoing. Nothing has been said officially or anything like that. That is one of the testaments how bullish this team is and what their capacity in terms of pushing this narrative is compared to any other token. We've seen so many MAGA tokens in the past. Last year I've seen two MAGA specific tokens with the MAGA name in itself, right? It was not a MAGAverse, but it was a MAGA name, which is the old narrative, right? But they went to 500 million and 900 million, something around those lines. This dev himself has already ran multi-hundreds of millions of dollar market cap projects before. And the testament of what he's capable of, it is in the pudding. He's done so many cool things up until now. I mean, this token is not even like 3-4 weeks old now, right? It's literally from doing things from taking the fight to the Web 2 world. He just recently, I believe it was the day before yesterday, there was a fight in the UFC. He actually sponsored the gentleman. His name was Alden Correa, right? He just sponsored him inside the UFC. He did a knockout, and literally it kind of coincided with the actual narrative. It's a knockout, right? It's like you're fighting on persistency, right? That is what the narrative is. You have this donation that we're talking about. There were TikTok ads that were actually flowing through. There was so much PR campaigns that are ongoing. And mind you, he hasn't touched even the surface of what he's capable of. So it's literally so freaking early for this narrative. And again, so many things probably going to happen in the coming days. And again, what you just mentioned, $1 million donation. You're talking about literally rubbing shoulders with the big dogs. You're talking about Circle. They just recently donated $1 million to the inaugural fund. You just saw Ripple also do the same exact thing. So imagine being a meme coin and having the capability and the capacity to be able to actually donate to something like that. It speaks volumes.
So that would mean that very high likelihood that that the team will be, or somebody from the team will be there at the inauguration events.
That nothing has been said officially, but a little birdie was saying something could possibly happen. So
right on. Well, how about give us some of the recent updates on Magaverse, maybe some of the milestones, what you got coming on right now, what's happened so far, so people can understand, because there are things like pump.fun and snack.fun and all these different token deployers. But what sets a project apart isn't just going on a deployer and launching a token, but it's having, some milestones or some things within a roadmap leading up to that substantiates having, building a bit of a community, building a bit of I don't want to say a business, but a back end sort of infrastructure to ensure growth into the future. So talk a little bit about some of the recent updates from Magaverse.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, this is the beauty of this token in itself, right? So the dev himself actually found this narrative. Actually, he was looking for something that was new, something that was going to be unique, and he wanted to do something within the movement of where change and hope was possible. And Magaverse was one of those tokens. It actually was launched. It actually died down. The dev had sold off all his tokens. And this is where he kind of built a whole entire community around, where he started to build this narrative and invested his own money to be able to build something for the long haul, and saw the genuine branding around the whole entire name. Like, he's already bought a 4-letter user account for both Twitter and Instagram. He literally bought that, like MVRS. Like, if you want to go and find MVRS, literally type in MVRS on both Instagram and Twitter. Like, you start to see stuff that is basically how big of a possibility of having the longevity be there for MVRS, because the branding has to be intact from all aspects, right? Whether it's from IPs that are coming down the pipeline, or it's from a real branding standpoint, right? So to protect your assets, right, for a whole entire community, and let alone things that are ongoing. Now, the other thing that this dev has done is he built the community literally from the ground up. It wasn't personally, I didn't even find this narrative until like 10 million plus market cap. You know what I mean? So like, I wasn't even aware of this narrative. When I personally saw the narrative, I was super fucking bullish, because we know Trump was actually, the whole Trump narratives are going to start to take off, this project came in around December timeframe, right? And we knew that something of that sort will come, but did not expect to happen so early on. So he really pivoted this movement in such a smart a way, where you can actually see that, kind of like segueing in nice and slowly transitioning into organic growth, and then building on that. So that's another cool thing. Also, I am a co-founder of Meme Coin Summit. So we also do a lot of global events. I mean, 2024, we did about 7 events globally. So there's a lot of stuff that is in the works as well for Bitcoin consensus, things of that sort. That's also coming in the pipeline. He has a lot of things that are in his pocket, and let alone not even a lot of KOLs have even been onboarded. So anything that you see has been predominantly all organic, like supporting of all the KOLs. It's definitely a plus, right? So when you start to see that awareness, it's literally getting people in, finding this narrative naturally and coming on board. I still recall when I first came into the TG and saw the narrative, literally, like, we used to have like maybe, about 10 people inside the VC. Now we are seeing like close to a little over 100 at times, when we're having the dev actually being vocal, and let alone the dev himself is a very vocal person inside the VC and on spaces himself. So he's leading this charge from the front. He's not hiding in the shadows. And again, this is something that is very, very much needed when it comes down to these meme coins, because you see that not a lot of people are very overexposed in this side.
Well, apparently we're live from Brazil at the moment. I'm not sure what that is, but I do want to say, you know, what I find interesting about this is rather than it being tied to what Trump says or a lot of these other coins that are out there that are specifically on a specific individual topic, I do find it interesting that, you know, this whole idea of the MAGA verse. So it's like everybody that is at that top level of influence within his inner circle all can contribute towards the sort of organic awareness or the organic sort of push for price action, as we were just seeing on Drew's screen there with that.
I love it. Honestly, like it's a great chart. And you're talking about getting in at 10K. And this is, you know, I mean, obviously you have like the initial pump and then consolidation. I just had to share it. I mean, I love this chart from a just a flat out.
It's really bullish. It's really bullish, man. Like you look at it, it's very organic. Like you see, there's not major retracements. People are really holding on. When you see a chart in this type of pattern, it really means that people really are in it for the narrative and they really care about the movement. Again, it's also it has another aspect to it, right? Like people don't really look at it like from a collectible standpoint. Like people feel like by actually buying into a token with this type of narrative, it means that you are taking part of that movement, which allows you to see potential change in the space. So imagine this, donations happens, for instance, right? Just as an example, you know, you're a contributing factor for somebody to actually make that donation. Imagine this project did not exist today. That donation would not exist, which means that movement or that even the urge to be.
Oh, did we lose him?
Oh man, we lost him for some reason.
We lost him. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
There we go.
Yep.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying that, like, imagine this token did not exist, right? Like when somebody's actually making that donation, it's always it's part of that movement, right? It's because of that movement, it actually made him feel that, you know, he wants to actually donate to make that difference, right? For that change. It would not have happened otherwise, right? But it was just a coincidental thing that, you know what? I feel this movement. I see this token. You know, this could be something meaningful, but you know what? It took one person or a team that collectively thought that, hey, look, let me just invest into this. I feel like this could be something big. And now he firmly believes that. And now everyone has literally, you know, went alongside with it and became this movement, and that is pushing that narrative.
Well, on that note, you know, I know we're coming towards the end of the hour here. We got 107,000 people that have tuned in.
Right
so
on.
as we wrap out
Let's
here,
go.
I do want to shout out to everybody that's out there tuned in. You're the type of people that are going to make this space move forward as a whole, because you're diving into these type of panel discussions, especially here, the best ones on the entire interwebs here at the Mario Nawfal Roundtable and on the Mario Nawfal channel for the Crypto Dailies. But I want to give Crypto here from MagaVerse the floor to wrap it out here. If you have any immediate plans for the future that people need to be aware of, any calls to action for anybody that's tuned in, and any alpha, any sort of last alpha that you haven't dropped yet that you would like to before we wrap this one out.
Yeah, let's fucking go. So let me tell you guys something, okay? You will see a lot of narratives in this space, especially coming in closer to the 20th, right? You will see a lot of them. But what tests the time for this specific narrative is few things. The narrative is bold, collective, strong, right? It has a dev team that is super, super experienced. They have the financial capacity to really push a narrative. And the other component is that he wants, as a person that has been in this space for a long time and being part of so many different cool projects, and being as an investor, right? The dev's ultimate objective is to supersede what his previous highs were ever in the space. And when you come across a dev that actually has those type of goals, their goals are to actually hit the billions of market caps. And this dev actually has what it takes to actually making that happen. You're going to see a lot of other cool stuff that is going to come down the pipeline. This dev likes to keep us also on our feet. But one thing this team is actually doing and what we are doing as community leaders, which I don't see in any other space or in any other token, is the educational aspect of all the personas that actually are inside the specific narrative that actually are basically our representatives out in the market when it actually comes down to investing into this token, right? We educate every single individual. As a matter of fact, we actually have quizzes every other day where we interact with our fellow investors inside the TG, and we do giveaways. So the dev team also do give backs to the community in the form of rewards for being active inside these quizzes and also other fun activities that we actually have, which we don't get to see.
Crypto, are you able to say who the dev is, because that can get very
Soldier Boy.
obfuscated.
Soldier Boy is the dev of this project, and he is vocal, and he is actually I would have played that Soldier Boy song too for him, but it's not that Soldier Boy. It's not that Soldier Boy.
All right,
but
all
his
right.
name
All right,
is
you got me
Don't play the
excited
Soldier
now.
Boy. Don't
I
play
know,
the Soldier Boy song because then we'll get
Yes.
all like we'll get banned on
Give it
YouTube.
Soldier Boy. All right, gotcha. Well, you
not that
guys,
Soldier Boy. Sorry.
you guys heard it here. We got the peek under the hood. What's going on with Magaverse? Of course, I definitely recommend everybody taking a look. You can go and follow them on their socials at MV Michael, Vic, Rick, Scott, MVRS.
Because we're in Atlanta, didn't you?
But by the way,
did
it
the
also
Michael
looks
Vick.
like Mars. If you guys haven't noticed, it also looked like Mars.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you
He's
know,
like
hey,
upside down.
let's go to Mars. We want all these prices to go to Mars. Again,
That's the goal here. We're going to Mars. That's what that chart is looking like. Is climbing up to Mars.
absolutely. So, guys, you can follow them at MVRS, or you can follow them. Head over to the website at mvrs.wtf, because what the hell are you doing if you're not looking into this? So again, thank you to Crypto for coming and dropping the alpha there. And also thank you to Player, Taco One, and Chonky. And of course, my enigmatic co-host here on this one, Druth, here on the Mario Nawfal Crypto Daily panel discussions with some of the best in the world on one of the top social media accounts in the world. We're honored to be up here and be able to dive into topics like, politify. Right now with crypto, this is where we're at. So Drew, if you want to wrap us out, and then we can close this one out for the day.
Now, man, this is an exciting time, and honestly, a pretty exciting chart to be looking at. So, and I think you guys are doing a good job, positioned at the right time. Everyone that's paying attention to crypto, I think we're positioned at the right time in general. Make sure to take profits, buy as much real estate as you can. That's kind of my goal here. Buy crypto, sell it high, buy land, and then buy more crypto when it dips. So this is the game that we are playing here. And really, I'll say it again. This is the miracle market setup. If you would have told me we would have this 4 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are. We're having everything fall into place perfectly for a disgustingly fun 2025. Appreciate meeting Player Taco, Chonky, Crypto, and of course, Kelly Cullum. It's always a pleasure, guys. So with that, stay based, take your profits, and we'll see you at the top.
Let's ride this dragon, everybody. Thank you all for being here. And Drew and I are off to host another one of these in about 30 minutes. Thank you all very much. That's all we got. We'll see you in the next one. Adios, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure.